First thing we do is we pull the truck in, set up the lift. For each vehicle it's different, so we have to make sure that we get them level and lift at the same height, otherwise it's possible to slip off and cause a hazard. But anyway, pop the hood, we check all the fluids, we make sure that everything's filled to maximum, and to ensure that everything's working like they're supposed to. Check the belts, make sure there's no cracks, frays, broken pulleys. Check the hoses for cracks, all of, so that if we find anything we can advise the owner for possible repair. Then we check the tire pressure, make sure all the tire pressures, like on the last two tires here, they were below 30 psi. They're supposed to be anywhere between 44 and 40 psi on the truck. So I had to locate the leaks. One tire has two, one has one has a nail in it. The other two were good to go, so I rotate them from the back to the front. So we rotate our tires every car that comes in, the checks that we do, we rotate their tires every 5,000 miles. Toyota has Toyota Care. Every 5,000 miles they come in for a maintenance light, which usually means either they need their oil changed or they just need their tires rotated. And they get the 32-point check every time they come in. Doesn't matter which kind of car it is, they get their check. Because you never know when something's gonna break. So while it's up in the air, we go through, start from the front all the way to the back. Checking linkage, checking boots, CV boots, axles, any bushings, which is the mounts for the drivetrain, the engine. We check both sides, steering, check boots, make sure they're no leaks. We're checking wiring, any type of wiring. We're checking the springs, linkage, any of the boot damage, because these will give out. These are ball joint boots, and they get used and beat up pretty good going down the road. So we check those at all times, and we work our way back. And I check housings, bolts, make sure there's no bolts missing. Check the oil pans for the transmission and the engine, make sure there's no bolts missing or leaks. Linkages, grounding straps. Again, there's a lot of hoses on these vehicles, so we want to check U-joints, which are back here for the drivetrain, for the shaft, for the four-wheel drives. We're checking this, make sure there's no unnecessary movement, make sure they're lubed. They all have lube points, so we come in here and we'll lube each one of them. It's part of the LOF that we do. Checking the mounts, transmission mounts, make sure that they're tight, no bolts missing, no cracks, no broken mounts. Goes for exhaust as well. We're checking these as well, making sure that they're solid. We're pushing on stuff, moving stuff, making sure all the ground, like the center support, these go out. If these go out, puts wear and tear on these universal joints and cause more damage. That's normal movement. There's got to be some movement because the axle in the back will flex up and down, which brings the drive shaft in and out. So again, checking all the points, making sure everything's solid, checking all the bolt nuts, making sure everything's there on the axle, make sure there's no leaks. U-bolts hold the springs. I'll make sure that they're still there, tight, secure, nothing's missing, nothing's damaged. Shock absorbers, this is the shock mount. And making sure that the bushings are good, the shocks are not leaking. If you have leaking shocks, they're not doing any good. They need to be replaced. Again, checking all the tubing for the brakes, the ABS, all the sensors that they have on these trucks. and making sure everything's good, everything's mounted, nothing's missing. And we'll go through and check the differentials as well, make sure the fluid level is up against so that the oil gets all the way to the outside on both sides. No oil comes out this, that means there's a leak somewhere, so we got to find out where it's going. Come back here, checking the exhaust, checking bushings again on the springs, making sure the spare tire is mounted correctly, checking wiring, checking frame. All the way back we're checking frame. All that, make sure there's no rust, bolts missing. All the way back to the bumper, make sure everything's secure. And that's what we do, a check on every oil change that we do on every vehicle that comes into our shop. We do this 32-point check from front bumper to back bumper, and side to side. Every tire gets checked, every level gets checked. If it's on a vehicle, we check it.